week, or you can request your money back. So we never did get the cards or the tickets. But if we get them during the meeting, we might be able to pass them out. I'm very sorry. Mike Allen's going to start us off with the Invitational Pledge.
Let us be thankful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we appreciate and use meaningfully each day that we are fortunate to have. We ask for strength, wisdom, and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged and motivated to give our best always, and to act in a spirit of kindness, empathy, and generosity in all that we do. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the truth. It's fair to all concerned. Will build goodwill and better friendships. Will be beneficial to all concerned.
Can everybody hear me? Do we need the mic? Okay. Mike, I bet you're as excited as I am about football starting up here again.
Yeah.
Great job on the invitation.
I hope I did a good job.
Yeah. Keep working on it, buddy. So Brad has our Sergeant at Arms report.
All right, so we have 31 with us today, and we have 4 on Zoom, unless some people join later. Jim Kennedy has a speaker guest today. Captain. And I have a list of Raffle people and money, so I'm hoping to give you tickets today. If not, we will figure it out.
We'll work at it. Don't worry, your donation is good with us. Rick, you have our birthdays and anniversaries?
I do. Today. Looks like it's a good week to be born based on the number of born. So, good morning, Kansas City. Let's see. We have no club anniversaries this week. That's unusual. And for birthdays, we have a couple here with us today. Where is Miss Lisa Jordan? Ta-da! Lisa has a birthday coming up on Friday, and Rob has one coming up on Saturday. Yeah, so we've got 29 or so, something like that, right? All right, and wedding anniversaries. Dennis Markle with us today. Okay, and well, he and Nancy Hill are coming up actually today. And then let's see, we have a heads up for next week. Dale Farlow, Bobby Christensen. Anniversaries next week. You've been warned, you have no excuse for not remembering. All right. And Mr. President.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
So a couple quick club announcements. The Changing of the Guard event will be here next week. We're gonna, all of our charter members, which we have a bunch in the crowd here, are gonna be honored. We'll, obviously we'll be installing our new president board. But if you know a charter member who's not come in a while, please reach out to them and ask them to come. Walt, yeah.
I think that was beautiful thinking on your part about it. It's not next week.
Oh yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. The 23rd. 2 meetings. It's 13 days from now. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So
if you calculate the hours.
It'll be here. It'll start at about 6:15 p.m. We'll have cocktails. It's a steak and salmon dinner with a vegetarian option, so it should be great. Danielle's worked really hard on getting it all set up for us. June 24th is our district installation. So this is Wednesday night, Thursday night. Chris Justice is going to be installed as well as the other district officers. It's going to be at Grandover. Mike Conrad has worked really hard on this. So we get the dual fun of going to the Grandover and we get to heckle Mike. So please come out. It should be a good time. I know there's at least a handful of people that have signed up from our club. Raise your hand if you're going. I am going. So We got a handful of people going now. Our club is very active in the district. So we've got lots of people who do things, come out and support them. It's a big night to get installed into that honorary position, or honorable position, not honorary. Sorry. Just a quick announcement. I don't know if anybody else is looking at this stuff, but I thought I would share some of these statistics. The daily COVID cases are down 95% from the high. So I actually went in and did the math on the 7-day moving average. The deaths are down more than 90%. And 64% of the adult population has been at least partially vaccinated. So I'm a math guy, so I don't know if that means anything to all of y'all, but
Are those US numbers?
that's the CDC information for the United States. So, I mean, that's great stuff, man. 95% reduction in cases means it's ending. The deaths follow the cases. All right, that's all the club announcements I have. I'm going to call on Danielle. She has some quick announcements.
Hey everybody, I'm just wanting to give you a heads up that I will be sending you, all the members, a list and assigning you a week for the invitation. So be on the lookout for that email, and then once I send it out, I'm going to go into sign up and add all of your emails in there, so it gives you like the automatic weekly push reminder, because let's face it, if you're signed up for April 2022, you really remember that. But just be on the lookout for it, and if you're weak, like if you're on vacation or something comes up and you're not able to do it, I ask that you be proactive and reassign your week to another member.
Thank you. So traditionally, we do that in alphabetical order, so it's not such a tremendous job for our club admin. So we're all big boys and girls. Let's be responsible and make sure we get good invitations. Matthew, do you have any announcements on our service project? Okay, so we're still trying to finish up that Victory Junction project. Who knows? We're at their mercy whether we can do it or not. But I'm sure Matthew will let us know if we can contact him. All right, that's all we have. You want to do some happy dollars, Buster?
Do we want to do happy dollars? Not kidding. Of course we do. Look, Chris. He wants the microphone. Give the man the microphone. Are you going to see? No, it's called a portrait. Oh, he's serious. He wants the microphone.
Sure.
Can't live with it.
So I got happy dollar, $5. This Tuesday, my mother had a birthday and was going by Bobby and Jill. Had a great meal. It was fun time at Real Seafood. It was a good time, real loud. And then Dave helped me out with a client for a project, and just really glad to be in Rotary and have a chat. That's it.
Obviously, God, those are some great statistics. I heard another one that Dr. Fauci said if you wear 2 bathing suits this summer, you can be in the pool. I'm leaving a little early, headed to the airport, crank up some Beechcraft, and I'm headed to Westchester County, New York with Jill. Tonight we'll attend the governor's dinner on the grounds of Lyndhurst Estate, kick off Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. 145th Westminster, second oldest sporting event in America, behind the Kentucky Derby. Saturday night, Sunday night, it'll be live on Fox Sports, and you might see me doing cleanup.
Oh my gosh. I got one of them. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Here you go, I'll just leave one thing. Yeah, thank you, y'all, my buddy Buster. Went to the Sunset Club meeting Monday night, and he liked it. It was about performance. However, I saw Buster coming in. I knew it was going to be like everybody else was already in. Buster's up near the door. I'm like, Buster, come get himself. Before we go upstairs, I finally had him sit down. And I get up in front of him and said, oh, I just didn't want to be last and come in front of you. So thank you, Buster. Thank you, last. Good man.
That was fun. Y'all are great satellite. There's a lot of
They have food.
Go ahead. I got all those extra tanks here. So my little boy Wilder, all 6'2" of him, had a really nice job interview, the 4th interview, a company called BPG Paxil. Never heard of him in my life, largest investment bank in South America. And he goes down there to the 4th interview, he's all nervous. And it turns out that 2 of the guys went to the same schools he did. And the boss's boss graduated from there and has a lesser degree than Wilder's as well. And he said it was pretty much like lunch with fraternity brothers. He took his tie off. So I think he got the job. And he went to Chile. They just started a presence in Chile. They bought $385 million worth of timberland in Chile. He spent 7 months down there and knows all the people at the top forestry school in Chile. So that's where he studied. So I hope he's in like Flint. I don't know. Knock on wood. There we go.
He didn't go to Chile. He went to the country.
Yeah, Chile. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people.
Yes.
Chile.
We went to Chile's when he got back.
Well, Grandpappy said that now that I've lived through an actual play, I fully understand the Italian Renaissance paintings full of fat, naked people lying around on couches.
Guy, aren't you gonna introduce me?
Jim Kennedy's going to introduce our speaker.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
It's good to see all your smiling faces. Today, we got a treat. We've got a talk from another Rotarian who belongs to the Eat Breakfast Club. Andrea Alemany is a lifelong resident of North Carolina with a chemistry degree from Appalachian State. In the agricultural industry, she has been a pesticide residue analyst. That's got to be interesting. And is currently a stewardship manager with Syngenta. Hope she'll explain what that position does. It's really interesting. She has, as I said, she belongs to the E-Club, Global Trekkers, and also the Greensboro Symphony Guild. She's here to talk to you this morning about a book she wrote in response to COVID challenges with her kids.
I'm bringing my notes with me because you guys meet so darn early, I can't remember everything in my presentation. Well, good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. And let me get my coffee situated because I'm not done with that. Let's see. All right. And I trust that David has got me all hooked up here. Okay. Now, as Jim said, I wear a lot of hats, but the current and most exciting one is I've just been hired by Syngenta as a stewardship manager. And what that means, I'm still learning because I'm 3 weeks in, but what that means is that Syngenta is very responsible for the use of their products out in the world, and they want to make sure that where they can make those products safer for applications, that is happening. So it's a great opportunity for me because I love the role of scientific liaison, and it puts me right there in the sweet spot for me personally and professionally. So that is why I say to you, no more silence about the science. And whether we're talking about pesticides or vaccinations, it's all the same. There really does need to be more communication from the scientists and the medical professionals to just the everyday person like us. And I'm not a medical professional. I have an undergraduate degree in chemistry, so I come to you from a position of doing my best to help bridge that gap between the two populations. So if at any time you have questions or corrections for me, I'm happy to receive all information. So what I'm going to do right now is actually read you my book a little bit quickly. This is Ava Antibody Explains Your Body and Vaccines. I'm actually giving away one of my books today, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. This is the dedication page, and the reason why I'm showing you this is at the very bottom, It does say that for every book I sell off of my website, I do give $1 to End Polio Now. That is my commitment as a Rotarian to support the efforts of our organization. So let me begin. I did want to say too that my book is illustrated by Roman Diaz, and I've never actually met him in person. He is a resident of Mexico, so we had some interesting opportunities there. If you ever want to write a book, I'm happy to share my adventure with you. When you're at the doctor, she may say you need a shot. It can be scary or even hurting you. And you may wonder, why do I need this? Let's find out together. First, you need to meet Ava Antibody. She is going to show you how getting shots helps you stay healthy and happy. Ava is on a team in your body called the immune system. Their job is to patrol your body and find anything that isn't supposed to be there. They can find things you can see, like a splinter, but they can also find things you can't see, like germs and viruses, such as this guy, Charlie Chickenpox. And he only looks like coronavirus by accident, by the way. However, Charlie Chickenpox is very sneaky. If the immune system doesn't know what he looks like, Charlie can get right past them. If Charlie Chickenpox gets into your body, he can make you sick and give you itchy, blotchy, red spots. Once the team has met Charlie Chickenpox, they know what to look for and will sound the alarm. Then the immune system can band together and get rid of him. This is Will. He has never had Charlie Chickenpox before, so Ava doesn't know what to look for. What do you think happens now? Since Ava doesn't know who I am, I can make this little boy have chickenpox, but she will remember me. I only have one chance to make Will sick. So Charlie Chickenpox snuck right by Ava, and now Will doesn't look so good, does he? He has a fever and yucky, itchy red bumps. Will can't go to school or play with his friends for days. Ava can see Charlie Chickenpox now, so she sounds the alarm to get rid of him. Now that I know what to look for, Charlie Chickenpox can't sneak by me anymore. I will be able to spot him quickly, and he can't make Will sick. But there's good news. Charlie Chickenpox doesn't have to get you sick. Ava just has to know what to look for. Your doctor can teach her with a special trick called shots. Doctors give you a shot because it has a special kind of Charlie Chickenpox in it. The shot helps Ava know what Charlie looks like. This way, she can sound the alarm and stop you from getting sick when he tries to make a home in your body. Another word for a shot is vaccine. So this is Ashley. She has had the chickenpox vaccine last year. Even though Charlie Chickenpox tried to make a home in her body, he couldn't. Well, why not? It's because Ava Antibody knows what Charlie Chickenpox looks like. She can be on the lookout for him. She and her team can stop Charlie from making Ashley sick. Getting the vaccine helps you keep your friends healthy too. Amara is friends with Ashley. Her baby brother is too young to get the shot. If Ashley got sick, Charlie Chickenpox could easily spread to Amara's brother too. Ava Antibody is happy to keep you healthy. It's her favorite job. So this is my book for children, and I read it to you because I wanted you to know that it has some very important components about vaccines in it. You saw an immune response, specifically a B cell immune response and virus neutralization. We've heard all of those terms, and then of course that last page with the little boy, that was all about herd immunity. And that's just the last page of the book. The book also has a lot of references in the back for adults. And what I want to show you is my book originated about 20 years ago when my kids were going to get vaccines, and the doctors, they just don't have time to explain it to you. You go in there, they pop your kid in the leg with a vaccine. If you take home a screaming kid and a piece of paper from the CDC. So my mom originally drew this back literally 20 years ago, and that was the beginning of my book. That was also the beginning of my interest in vaccines. It didn't just start with the coronavirus, and so it just happenstance that the book was published last year in July. So that's why I think it's so important to talk about vaccines and the controversy that they bring. So like I said before, this is Ava antibody, and you can see here that I tried to make her as structurally accurate as possible. This is sort of what an antibody looks like. And we all know that the goal for in any situation where there's a disease is virus neutralization. We've heard that a lot, but how do we really achieve that? Now, we have seen this all roll out with coronavirus in real time over the past 12 months. So a lot of this you've heard on the news, but I think it's really good to see what it actually looks like. And this is a pretty accurate way to show this. The whole point of virus neutralization is for these antibodies to bind to the virus so it cannot penetrate into other cells and replicate. So this is a good example of what actually happens. But we've seen it play out, like I said, there's two ways for this to happen. You can either get the illness and have an immune response after your body has caught up and you've been sick for 3 to 7 days, or you can get a vaccine and prevent that process because your body's already teed up to recognize that invading virus or toxin, for example. So does anyone have any questions so far? Is everybody okay? Yes.
Where was the microchip?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's on Facebook, actually. Yeah, I've gotten that question too, and I've gotten a lot of questions about the intent of Bill Gates, and you just heard statistics saying that regardless of the intent of whether there's a microchip in there or not, we're seeing the positive impact of vaccines, and that's what those numbers are telling us. So I have 2 cell phones with me, so I don't really care about that. It's kind of a moot point, right? Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how to ask that question, but.
Shoot from the hip.
Okay, so viruses, but the medicine you see in the shop, you see why is the ratio of what you're putting in the body for the vaccine so much larger than the virus itself?
You can see the shots.
They're giving you millions of particles
Right.
to get the immune response. So, or billions or whatever, I don't even know. They're giving you so much in volume. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Are you sure it's not
Yeah.
Brazilian?
I just want to see it visually, to me, it seems like it could be a lot less, but I guess.
Well, it's not just what you're seeing in that syringe is not just the actual messenger RNA component. You're seeing things in there that actually are allowing it to go into your body. But you can't see that either. Just like you can't see the virus with the naked eye. But we know it's transmitted. We know that masks stop that. We know that it gets into your mucous membranes, and that's part of how it transmits. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And because you're seeing what seems like a large volume doesn't mean that that's all the messenger RNA. I don't know the percentage of component there, the parts per million of that, but it's probably very small. And I can assure you that with medications and vaccines over the years where they have been able to reduce the amount of various things, including the active ingredient, they have been doing that. So I hope that helps you a little bit.
I'm not a skeptic. I was just I never thought about
No, I think
what all was in that shot, not the microchip.
right. Actually, I'm going to talk about that. I don't have the microchip on here, but I do have some other things to talk about. But again, it's just, there does have to be a delivery system. So, you know, and it's kind of like if you're in the hospital, if you're in the ER, the first thing they do is they tap a vein and get some sodium chloride going so they can deliver smaller amounts of other medications that you may need very readily. So it's kind of like that, just on a much smaller scale.
I mean, if they were trying to give you a tenth of a CC, how would they even, it'd be hard to measure. How would you know, have a third of it would stay in the needle?
If
You know,
they have ways to inject microdoses.
Yeah.
If they could do it with that small of a volume, they would, because that means they could vaccinate more people. It's ease of administration, right? How do we give a billion people a polio vaccine? It still costs $1 a shot or whatever. It's how do you get it all to the people?
Yeah, yeah.
Could you talk for a minute, and maybe you're going to, about the different strategies that the virologists have come up with, the live virus versus the messenger RNA that they've come up with, and how the scientific process got us there?
I'm gonna try to address that a little bit for you, and I've got a couple of slides, but when I get there, if you have more questions, I'll do my best to address it. Jim, did you have a question?
That was exactly right.
Okay, okay, yes, I am gonna address that a little bit for you guys. And what I wanted to show you here too is a little bit of a comparison, and this is without vaccine. So I put polio on here because obviously we are very concerned about polio in Pakistan now, and so we've had quite a victory over the years with polio. But what's interesting here is that when you look at all of this, it really shows you the impact of these viruses, and it's very different from virus to virus. So that R naught, you've heard that. What that means is I'm infected, how many people can I potentially infect, right?
what is that? Or what is R?
It's called R naught, the R0. Okay, so that means that if I'm infected, that's the approximate number of people I can infect. And these numbers are not like that. COVID number may have changed. I know there might have been a different number in Europe. There might have been a different number in Guilford County, but these are just ranges and estimates. But what this tells you is, you know, thank goodness, for example, that the measles virus being highly contagious only caused 0.2% death. Can you imagine if the measles with that R naught of 12 to 18 was as deadly as smallpox? This building wouldn't even be here. So this just shows you what we're up against in terms of fighting viruses and what their actual contagious amounts are. So you can see, you know, at first when COVID came out, we're like, oh, well, it's just the flu, right? No, not so much. It's quite a bit more contagious. It's not like polio, but it's certainly different than the seasonal flu, and we know that now. Well, you know, I think it's pretty clear that we've got a lot of controversy about vaccines right now, but that didn't happen this week or last year. You know, before COVID, there were outbreaks of chickenpox and measles in the country, and so it's definitely been with us for a long time. Actually, you know, vaccine hesitation has been with us way before even Jenny McCarthy. It actually started back initially with the smallpox vaccine. And, you know, I said smallpox killed 1/3 of the people that got it. So what that means is your choice for yourself or your children is to take a risky vaccine, or variolation is what they call it, or risk getting this and basically having a very high chance of dying. So there were hard choices to be made back then. And this was all before germ theory. So like to your point, they couldn't see the stuff, the active ingredient they were delivering. They had no idea. They only knew that the milkmaids who were exposed to cowpox seemed to survive smallpox better. And that was because they had a little bit of immunity. So, but this is why the hard choices were being made. And this is actually a anti-vaccine society photo of people with cows coming out of their arms. Right? So this is nothing nothing new. It's just a different situation. And so there were serious consequences of taking vaccines at that time. And basically, because there was no knowledge of germ theory, they would actually take pus out of someone's pustule from the smallpox and abrade the skin heavily with an instrument that was used on multiple people and transfer some of that pus out of that pustule onto that person's skin. Now, in the process, you hope that the doctor didn't drop it in the stall or stable in which you were having your vaccine administered, because there were some people that actually died of tetanus from that, right? So there's some legitimate hesitancy that was going on there. But if you have a 33% chance of dying, or that's your other choice, right? It's risk versus benefit, just like with everything else. So anytime you're hearing anything about science, whether you understand it or not, whether you want to take it or not, it's all about risk versus benefit. Does anyone have any questions or additional information about that? I think, yes.
So when, like, I'm not a secretary, but when people have the side effects, and like some people have like really bad side effects, is that just like part of the greater good?
So you have to show it.
COVID, yeah. Like all vaccines are gonna have side effects, correct?
Well, they all have the potential to have. I think most people have the very common side effects of a sore arm and a little bit of fever. And I think you might have probably as much information on that as I do. You sound like you're in the pharmaceutical realm.
So when you get clinically sick, I just read a lot. When you get clinically sick, that is an immune response, right? So if you have an immune response to the vaccine, it's usually much, much less than actual illness, right? It's risk versus reward, like she just said. You're statistically taking a chance that this immune response is going to be better. This so far statistically looks like one of the safest vaccines ever administered. So yeah, you're getting the immune response, which is what you want. So you're ready for the next one.
Okay, yes, Chip.
So that prompted my question. This COVID, yeah, you're right. So this vaccine was created in less than a year. Smallpox and some of these other vaccines that we've had, it took many years to create.
Right.
And there have been mistakes. I mean, in the 50s, they gave thalidomide to people for a long time. You could actually buy it over the counter in Germany before they found out that it caused grossly deformed children. How do we know this vaccine's safe today?
Okay, I'm gonna actually go into that a little bit too in just a minute. I am 100% confident that the vaccine is as safe as any other vaccine we've had, if not more. But I'm going to show you why. Okay, and this is, this kind of tracks with our polio experience here, right? This is eradication of smallpox, and I put this up here strictly for that purpose. The last case of smallpox, which killed 1/3 of the people that contracted it, was in 1977. That's not that long ago. And that's striking to me, especially when we look at it from the standpoint of polio. Now, you guys are asking a lot of questions, and I have slides later to go over those. So I'm going to kind of, no one has said in here that they think that vaccines cause autism. Does anyone, if you want me to go through this a little bit, what I can say is that the original study, and then I'll move on to the other things that will answer your question. The original study that caused that hype and that sense of information that went all over the world was actually published in 1998 in the Lancet, which is a highly respected medical journal in England. It was published by Andrew Wakefield and 10 to 12 other physicians. He had, and I'm reading this because this is important. He proposed that there was a new syndrome called autistic enterocolitis, which was all about the digestive tract, right? And that these 12 children in this study were observed to have adverse effects after the vaccine, after the MMR vaccine. So That's what started the hailstorm about autism. So the problem with that is that if you are going to try to debunk a study like that that gets spread all over the world very, very quickly, science generally, with the exception of COVID vaccine, does not move that quickly, right? So we can't debunk a study that had 12 kids in it with thousands of kids in a short period of time. Meanwhile, this information is spreading like wildfire. It's one of those bells that you just can't unring instantaneously. And then you get people on board like Jenny McCarthy, and then people believe it because a celebrity is telling you, so it must be true. And just to follow up on that article, that journal article was actually removed from the Lancet. It was formally retracted years later. So, but yeah, don't trust a study with 12 participants, and that's the conclusion. Also, let's just take a look at a couple of these other things. And these things have been disproven. The ethyl mercury problem and too many vaccines has all been disproven. But believe me, the FDA is hard at work making sure that all of these things are safe for you. So I want you to know that. I'm gonna show you what that looks like. As a matter of fact, I make this point because I think it's true. I think some of our vaccine hesitancy in this country is a first world problem, because when's the last kid you saw with chickenpox? I see a young man back there. Have you seen any chickenpox in your lifetime? Right. So maybe the mom of the kid next door says, hey, why do I need to give my kid the chickenpox vaccine? I haven't even seen chickenpox. Maybe our vaccines are so effective that they've caused a little bit of hesitancy themselves. So that's just kind of a, like I said, first world problem. I'm sure that there are people around the world that would love to get a hold of the very vaccines that we have people in this country refusing to take. So what's in them anyway, right? Well, first of all, let me just show you this. This is just, and this doesn't include the messenger RNA vaccine. I've got a little bit more information about that. These are the basic 4 types of vaccine. That first one is the live attenuated. That's that oral polio vaccine we're able to give all over the world without a medical professional, because it's a weakened form of the polio virus. So this is why we see vaccine-derived polio, right? Because it's still out there. People are able to shed that virus a little bit. This is why they took the second type of polio out of that oral vaccine. So you guys are probably all aware of all of that. So inactivated is more like the flu shot versus the nasal vaccine they used to give for flu. It may still be around, but that would also have been an attenuated or inactive or live attenuated virus. And then we have a toxoid. The example of that is tetanus. So tetanus, what you're receiving there is, the problem with tetanus is that it is a toxin produced by a bacteria. So it's not the actual, it's the toxin that causes the problem, that causes the lockjaw problem. And that is a highly fatal disease too. So that's why you go into the hospital, you've been in a wreck, you stumped your toe in the backyard, you've got some bleeding going on. They're probably going to ask you if you've had a tetanus vaccine. If you can't prove that you've had one, you're going to get one. And get one. Okay? And I would say, make sure as adults, this is something that a lot of people, I tell them in the room, the CDC recommends every 10 years, but if you've had an incident and it's been 5 years, they want to give you another tetanus vaccine. So stay up on that, know your tetanus vaccine status, okay? All right, moving onward here. The hepatitis B is an example of a recombinant protein, and I read about this again this morning, and it's a little bit, in my mind, tricky to explain, but basically, this is giving you fragments of a virus stuck to some other surface, and so you're not getting the whole virus. What you're getting is a piece of it, enough for your body to recognize it and have an immune response to it. That's the simplest way I can explain it. So, we were talking about what's in vaccines, and so there's a lot of things here. But what I wanted to point out was just the whole thing about the mercury, I think, is so interesting. And this is the case where people just don't take the time to look at the CDC and think about the information. The mercury that's actually in the vaccine is an ethyl mercury. It's called thimerosal, and it's not actually, it's only in the vaccines now where it's not anyone for children, and it's only in the ones where they're taking multiple syringes, multiple doses out of one single vial. So, but be that as it may, that is a water-soluble form of mercury that you just pretty much, it goes out through your urine. Unlike the one we found that actually bioaccumulates, which is methyl mercury. They're two very different things. They sound alike, but they're not the same. Okay. I think I'm gonna skip over this one because we know what coronavirus means. But what you can see here is this virus escaping the immune system because it can't recognize it and it's invading the tissue. Okay, I think this is the one where, I'm gonna answer some questions here. So I don't know, you guys have watched CNN a lot, right? You've seen Paul Offit out there. I've actually talked to him several times in the course of writing my book. And he was one of the co-inventors of the rotavirus, and it took them, it was at least 10 years to get their vaccine to market. So what you're seeing up here right now is it basically takes at least 10 years in the past to get something approved, and it takes $1 to $3 billion. And also there's the whole patenting thing, which is, that's in the news now too. And that's a fun topic too. So anyway, the point of this slide is to show you what happens in the whole process of research. These are the clinical trials that go on the phase 1, 2, and 3. And then the data review and post-marketing. So what actually happened with COVID was a few things happened. First of all, it's a very different vaccine. The production of it was much simpler. There's no rearing anything in an egg. There's no need for that. Some of the preservatives, like there's no need for an antibiotic, that kind of thing. The manufacture is very simple. Of course, the downside is the storage, but they're working on that. So what happened was, as they were developing the COVID vaccine, they were also good manufacturing practices were also being inspected in multiple potential manufacturer facilities. So these things that were normally done end to end were done concurrently as the trials were running. So, and I know that they did do piggybacking on the trials, because once things were found to be safe in the phase 1, they started the phase 2. Normally, what the FDA does is they get this big package of phase 1 trial results. They review it, they approve for it to go to phase 2. This was all done as a rolling admissions at college. That's how it works. That's the best way to explain it. And then concurrently with that, there were multiple partners, both in the pharmaceutical industry and in the university settings, who were preparing for the manufacture of multiple different vaccines should they be approved. So that's how it got sped up. And in terms of the actual technology of messenger RNA, this has been around, the research here has been going on for, I think, about a decade. There have been vaccines developed, they just haven't come to market for one reason or another. Probably one reason is the ability to deliver it. The messenger RNA just doesn't hang around very long, so it does have to be stored, and that's part of the difficulty, I think, that's probably happened, why we haven't already had one out there. Does anybody have any questions or additions to this information?
Let's wait till your questions.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. And this my point here is to show the collaborations, which I think were amazing, in terms of like I said, the pharmaceutical companies and the universities, and so I just wanted to shed some light on that. this is old information, but that's why I kept it here. It's just for you to take a look at that. This is the basic overview of the shots. I think we all know this. So I hope everyone has, if you've had the shot, you didn't have many side effects. I did pretty well with mine, so I hope those of you that took it did too. Okay, I think I've talked a little bit about this, but the point of the messenger RNA is actually just to broad stroke this. Like I said, it doesn't last very long in your body, but what it does do is it basically gives your cells instructions to produce that crown-like protein on the outside of their cell, and then your body has an immune response. So you're not actually getting a piece of the virus at all. That's the broad stroke. Okay, and the Janssen and Johnson and Johnson, the Janssen and Johnson vaccine, I'll get it right. That was about a 1 in a million situation where there were women that were having blood clotting, and so obviously we know a little bit more about that than we did earlier. But my point here is again that we have to weigh the risk versus benefit, and so. So all of those cases were in women, of child-rearing age. And like I said, it was 1 in a million. So we just have to consider that. And this is what 1 in a million looks like. It's 1 second in 11.5 days. I think that's a good thing to know. We hear parts per million all the time in a lot of industries. So this just gives you an idea of what that is, something you can identify with. Okay. I think now we're at our question phase.
We're a little bit out of time, so I think this is an excellent discussion. You did a great job.
Thank you.
The key for this, this science takes decades to understand. She explained it very well in about 30 minutes. So thank you for that. We have a raffle. I'm going to ask you to draw a ticket and read the last 3 numbers for us.
345.
Oh, right here.
Awesome.
Thank you, Brad.
Okay.
There's that card. Got it?
So before I leave, I did want to say that there is a chair here with a pink sticker underneath it, and that person gets a free copy of my book. And thank you so much.
I have a question.